First, let me just thank everybody for coming out tonight. I know it's a small crowd. Historically, we've kind of had a small crowd, usually less than 50, 40 people, somewhere around there. But ideally, let me just address why we picked the place. It's extremely difficult to find a location that could meet what our requirements were. So we did have to have at least 200 spots available. And some of the bigger venues were already booked for the timeline that we were trying to get it in on, and the dollar amount we were trying to get. So this location, fortunately for us, was able to get it at the quickest opportunity we could, and it saves the whole about $1,200. So thank you for coming tonight. Again, welcome. My name is Jeremy Smith. I've now been here in the community for 4 years, and that's about it.
Lamar. Oh, Sergeant Armor.
I'm here in Lamar, I'm the treasurer. And this is Cheryl, she is our CPA. Summer was not able to be here. She's our class.
Yeah, our secretary kind of got ill suddenly, so she was just stay home tonight. So, all right. Okay. Will, do we have one or do we need a department?
No. So we have less than 25 people of the entire neighborhood here. So no changes can be enacted today or voted on today because of all that work.
Thank you, Will. All right. This section goes pretty quick. But ideally, what I do want to do is these are just estimates that are on here. So they might take a little bit longer, they might take shorter based on whatever feedback or information y'all want to discuss. I will go ahead and just kind of give me President's Year in Review. As you can see there, I'm going to kind of start with the 2021. It's a very short, brief history. I'll read it for you here. Many of us have been here in the community for several years. Some for a very short time, so allow me a few minutes to recap what we've had. Prior to this year, the whole board was run mostly by a developer and his family. Finances and daily record keeping was accomplished by the previous CPA. In the past 4 years, at least since I've been here, we've had at least 2 annual meetings that I've attended where many things were questioned. There was a severe lack of documentation when the community requested financial breakdowns or receipts, and a lack of responsiveness from our previous CPA, amongst other things. This brings us to where we are today. Our persistent pursuit to control the board as homeowners has led to the developer finally signing off his rights to the board in November of 2021, resulting in this board officially assuming control in January of 2022. As we took over, we quickly validated our concerns and as a community, and they were justified. When we went to recover documents from the previous CPA, there was a huge lack of documentation. Checks were left undeposited. So where does that bring us now as far as our projects and objectives as a board? The best way to ensure we can conduct a successful turnover led us to hire a new CPA, which is Cheryl here, hiring a new landscape company, and transitioning the community funds from Wells Fargo to Robbins FCU. Since then, we have accomplished all of these, and additionally, we identified a lack of communication and information sharing to you as homeowners and members of the community. We did try Facebook for a while, but quickly realized that many people were not on Facebook, and there were limitations to document sharing, as this is technically a business and required us to move away from the social platform. Furthermore, we were tracking many things manually. Whole payments were taking extensive periods of time transitioning through the mail, and this led us to the development of a new website where we could get as close to 100% member accountability without needing to post things on social media. This also allowed members to submit architectural change requests with ACRs, view community finances and documents such as the covenants, which many did not have a copy of, receive online payments for annual dues, share a calendar of events, and so much more. This is the type of feedback the board heard from the community on a routine basis, and we took action. So what projects do we have today? These are good questions that some people have asked. When we took over, we immediately wanted to give back to the community, and what would be a better way than enhancing and fixing our community entrances? We had a new lawn care provider come in and actually provide what they were charging us for, and could prove it through specific invoices. We also had a fence at the original entrance fixed, and I personally stained it in an effort to save the community funds, unknowing what type of financial situation we were currently at. We have removed several trees from the green space that represented a safety concern and potential damage to homeowner property. And there are still more things we'd like to accomplish within the year, such as electricity at our entrances, better lighting, holiday decorations, and overall curb appeal to our community. We volunteered our time to ensure the community finally received the due diligence we have all expected for a very long time as a board, and all while having full-time jobs, families, going to college, volunteering in other places as well. But this also comes, with that also comes the enforcement of our covenants and bylaws. The board's objective is to get us back on track with a common sense approach. None of us honestly have the time to drive or walk around looking for violations. The community has gone so long with no real enforcement, so we know that this is going to take time. 100% of the violation letters we send out are a result of complaints from community members. We act only on those which we receive multiple complaints and are further validated. Most usually comply, and after the first notice, and very few disregard them completely. The biggest thing we are focusing on first are basic homeowner responsibilities, such as pressure washing and green stuff on houses, upkeep of yards and landscaping, and of course, the big one on street parking. So, some people have asked what happens when I get a letter. Well, the first notice is really that. It's just a notice after we've had validation over several times, and then you have 10 days to comply and respond to the board. So that can either come via mail or email based on whether you're registered on the website or not. The second notice is required for the covenants. It will be signed and certified, mailed to your house with another 10 days to comply and potential late fees if not complied by that date. The third notice is yet another letter and another 10 days to comply, but according to legal representation, we can now assess a $25 per dollar fee as per Georgia law, and we can seek, quote, self-help to bring the issue into compliance and or placing a lien on a house. Some concerns that have been brought forward to the community, and I'm just going to kind of go down the list here. One of the big things is somebody's complained about the green space. So, for example, a homeowner said, we know that people are throwing trash into the green space, refuse, debris and stuff back there. It's quite disgusting, actually, especially when it's hot as it gets here in Georgia and stuff. Nobody wants that back there. So the best thing you can do is if you see that, try to kindly talk to your neighbor about it before coming to the OA. And that's all we can ask on any issue that's in the covenants. Just try to get to know your neighbor and have a good working relationship with them. Y'all are neighbors, okay? If it keeps happening, you can absolutely bring it to a member of the board through our email. That's actually what we prefer. And if it continues, then we can notify that homeowner as well if they've violated that. Any questions on that one? Okay. Another issue in the green space somebody's brought up is how far back off of the property lines are you allowed to maintain? So right now, currently, the way that the covenants are written, there is no specific space. However, the board has kind of looked to an idea to pass it to the community to allow any homeowner to maintain up to 5 feet off the back of your fence line. And ideally, what that does is allows you to go back, trim the weeds and things like that, where they don't grow through your fence, they don't hang over your fence. Now, if it's a tree or something that becomes an issue, we don't expect you to pay for that. As long as it's in the green space, let us know. We could potentially have somebody come out and trim those up for you. That's one of the things that we put your money towards every year. We did spend, it was close to 7. We did have 7 trees taken down already that posed a threat to either homeowners' property or were a safety concern. They were leaning, they were being pushed over by weather and stuff. So 7 trees were brought down. It was like $5,800. So give or take the size of the tree, just keep that in mind. It's about $1,000 to take a tree down. So if you have an issue, just let us know, give us a call, or send us an email, and we can get somebody out there. All right, washing the sides of your houses, that's another one. Quite a few members, after we sent out our previous letters, and I think it was in March or April, kind of gave everybody a heads up, hey, go outside, spray your houses down and stuff. Most of the non-sun facing sides of the house will get like a green funk that grows on them. And really it just takes pressure washing to go out there and hit it off. Whether you do it yourself or you contract, completely up to you. But as long as you keep up with that, it looks good as people drive through the community, and it also keeps the siding of your house in a better situation. All right, so let me jump into parking. I know we said that we were not going to talk about parking, however, we've gotten some information back from Cooper Law Firm in addition to law enforcement. So let me just kind of address some of those things with you real quick. All right, so the board, as we put out the voting to find. Yes, ma'am.
Can you clarify what law enforcement agency you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Just give me just a second. All right, so what we did. All right, so we looked at the results of the voting that happened. We left it out there for almost 2 months. And like any covenant that's in there, we tried to put a thought behind it. Why was this written the way it was written? So with any rule or law, we wanted to find the background information on it. So as we looked, we actually called Alston County Sheriff's Department, Georgia State Police, and Perry Police Department. We do fall within the Perry guidelines, so most of the information we did get was from them. And I'm just going to kind of go through it with you here in just a moment. But let me first let you understand that the way our community was designed and the plat was built, our roads were supposed to be 40 feet wide. We have since gone out. Most of the roads are 27 feet wide. So you're talking, they've shrunk it by 13 feet. That's huge when you consider that you could easily probably park a car on each side of the road and still have enough room to get through. But some of the issues we found are that people are parking in front of stop signs, people are parking in front of fire hydrants, people are parking over or on the sidewalks, and all of these are ticketable offenses in accordance either with the local area code, and I have all the documentation that I can send to you, or further up under the state of Georgia. Let me go over a couple of these here. All right, this one is in regards to go-karts, similar devices, and so on, skateboards, all-terrain vehicles as well. Let me break this. It's very long, so I just want to skip it to you. No person shall park any vehicle within an alley or a road to leave it available less than 10 feet of width of the roadway. So the issue there is that we brought it up to the Perry Police Department. There is an ordinance in there that says if our roads are less than 30 feet, the chief of police can actually come out and put up signs that say no on-street parking is permitted, period. They are actually in the process of validating that now. Hopefully within the next few weeks, the community engineers will come out. They will actually validate the width of the roads that are done, and then they will take action on that as appropriate. Also, some of the other issues were people parking their vehicles in the street, more particularly in intersection. That's also a violation as well under the codes here. Narrow streets is the other issue, which falls under 30 feet, and that's what identifies the 30 feet as well. Vehicles that have not been moved for long periods of time fall under section 19 and 40 as derelict vehicles. So if you routinely park your vehicle there and you do get a warning and you don't move it, in theory you can call the city of Perry, and the city of Perry will remove it. And then it's actually unlawful for any owner or tenant to keep those types of vehicles on the road except within an enclosed building or a structure. So it even says you cannot put it in your yard. Go to second page here. Some more information, and again, I'll post this on the website once we're done. And everyone can read it. All right, so this one is in regards to vehicles, boats, trailers, and utility trailers on the streets. So the recreational vehicles, such as boats, trailers, utility trailers of all types, are not to be parked on the right side of any public street. So the question has been brought up, are we considered a public street? Yes, we are considered a public street. There is nothing that actually stops anybody from driving into our community just through. They don't have to be a member of our community as well. And this falls under section 23-2 of the Perry Code. Other things that fall under Georgia Code Title 40 for motor vehicles and traffic are parking over a sidewalk or on the edge of the curb into a sidewalk, within an intersection, on a crosswalk, and so on. And the list goes on. So as we look at these and we kind of drive through the community, we go, okay, well, we also have a lot of fire hydrants, we have a lot of stop signs. Fire hydrants you can't park within 15 feet, stop signs within 30 feet, and 20 feet within a crosswalk intersection. So as we looked at those, we kind of determined, yeah, there was a lot of rationale and reason of why this is put out. So then we kind of looked it up and okay, let's just assume our roads were 40 feet wide. What kind of parking could we afford in the community? Well, we could do staggered parking, sure. But we could also do one side of the street parking or the other. The issues we saw with that were, now I've got a homeowner calling and saying, everybody is now parked in front of my house on my side of the street, and if we were to pick the other side, you'd have the same issue with those homeowners on the opposite side of the street. So that doesn't really resolve the issue either. The only way really we can fix this issue is by enforcing it the way it's written, and then allow people the opportunity to expand or lengthen their driveway based on the property lines. Does that make sense? Are there any questions on any of this?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes, sir. Can you state your name?
My name is Jason Davidson. I've got an RV that I store off the property. When I bring that RV, I'm awarded 48 hours prior to leaving and 48 hours prior to getting back.
Correct.
So I received a complaint earlier this year because I had my RV parked where I would not be blocking the street because I'm going into a cul-de-sac. We have, in that cul-de-sac, I think there's close to 25 kids that are in and out of the cul-de-sac on a regular basis. So I pulled my camper up where the right side of my tires were on the sidewalk, the other side was on the grass because I had a slide that I had to let out to be able to get in and out. My complaint was I was blocking the sidewalk.
Correct.
If I park in the road and I let my slide out to be able to do what I'm trying to do to get my camper ready to leave, then it blocks both lanes of traffic because my slide is 3 foot.
Yep.
The camper's 8 foot, and I got an additional 3 foot hanging off the side. So I kind of have to pull up on the sidewalk to be able to clear the roadway.
Here's the issue: is that your specific complaint came from a neighbor. But the issue was that they didn't necessarily want their children in the street. They wanted to be able to utilize the sidewalk. And as we started looking further into the is that I get it. I have a 38-foot trailer myself, but actually I don't even bring it to the community anymore. This is because of how big it is. And I get that you want to go camping and stuff, but there's really no other way to do it. So my recommendation is park it where there's the least amount of traffic blocking, but it also allows the sidewalk to be utilized fully by anybody within the community, and maybe not leave your slide out.
I mean, I don't want to slide out on a regular basis, but while I'm in there working or doing whatever loading up, I don't want to hinder the neighbors trying to come in and out of the cul-de-sac, because that lessens the width of the road there.
Do you kind of relationship you have with your neighbors? Are you able to let them know that you're bringing in?
They normally know when we're coming in and when we're coming out.
Fine. Honestly, the only thing I can say is just try not to park over the sidewalk. I fully get where you're coming from, where you'd like to have it partially off the road, but most people do when there is a sidewalk in there, they do like to utilize the sidewalk versus the road. I'm assuming your camper's probably at least 10 feet wide, roughly 8 to 10 feet, right? So then you put a slide out that's another 3 to 4 feet on top of it. So it does block you. So I would just say, do what you gotta do, leave it off of the sidewalk, right? And then you close your slide when you're done. As long as, I don't think anybody would have a beef with it or an issue, as long as you communicated with your neighbors, it was off the sidewalk, and then as long as it's gone within 48 hours, I think most of us would be fine with that.
Well, and I would think so too, but obviously not, because that particular day, the only thing that was blocking the sidewalk was my steps. So, and I got like,
Talk to your neighbors. So what we have asked the community members that have sent emails out is if any of what you are seeing is actually a violation of a particular title, Georgia code, area ordinance, whatever, it no longer is a HOA issue, it is a law enforcement issue. So if you have an issue, it falls under one of these categories, we're just going to call law enforcement just like we would expect you to do. Now, again, please talk to your neighbors before doing so, because most people will be like, I didn't realize it, I'm sorry, let me move it, whatever. Does everybody kind of agree to that? That's the kind of approach we're taking with a lot of these. We're not going to jump right out and just send you a letter on one time. Our understanding is it happens through time. We receive different pictures and screenshots from the community members, which at that point made us, require us to take action and at least let them know aware that people are saying something and they're bothered by the fact that you were inhibiting the flow on the sidewalk.
but my camper was there less than 12 hours by the time the complaint came through.
Okay. So this law doesn't say anything about our timeline. So if you're on the sidewalk, it's chargeable. I got it.
I have to.
Yes, ma'am. Your name? Okay, go ahead.
So like when people come to visit us, are we getting paid for that too?
No. Okay, so her question was if people come to visit us. So the way the covenants are currently written is it does say that it does apply to guests. However, we are looking to potentially modify that to within a time frame, okay? We assume that most visitors are not there longer than a few hours. So kind of the time frame we're looking at, we're 8 hours or so, okay? You have guests come over, you don't have room in your driveway, your cars are in your driveway. I don't think most people would have a beef of it, hey, I've got a family member coming over here for a few hours for a cookout, right? I think most people have posted on there that, hey, on the Facebook page, I've got a party going on, I'm gonna have some people, I'm sorry for the inconvenience that we're gone for 5 minutes today. That's really all we can ask of any homeowner, is just let your neighbors know, be a kind neighbor, friendly neighbor, and just coordinate with them. I think it becomes more obvious if we see the same car in the same spot or in front of the house on a routine basis, where it goes from side to side, back and forth. Well, we kind of pick up on the fact that's probably a homeowner's vehicle, and then we take action. If you see a vehicle there one time, it's from California, well, you're not going to be ticketed, you're not going to be, sent a letter. But if it becomes a recurring issue and a neighbor complains, you will get a notice. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Well, you won't get a fee for a member. So,
And I may have to
all right, so some might be thinking, well, what does it take to change the covenant, right? So we did ask, and it is in the bylaws, 2/3 vote or 2/3 signature of the community. So as the community gets larger, currently we have 231 houses that are being utilized, right? They have residents in them. So as that number gets larger, it's going to be hard for people to sign on that. Okay, so if we do want something like that, it's going to require people to walk around and get a signature to change any covenant. Any covenant. Does that answer? Yes.
In the bylaws, there's a section which specifically says that you got to worry about the design, architect, whatever the neighborhood makes a covenant, all is possible to follow.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think if we went door to door that we would get 2/3 of the signature to delete that rule? I'm giving you.
I'll be more happy to go. I'll be more happy to go.
Okay. So what I will say is there are a lot of people that moved into the community knowing that these covenants were already there and already established. We don't have an issue with anybody trying to change or modify or remove any of the covenants.
I get that.
But as long as we follow the way they're written, that's fine. We're not telling people no. But I want to make sure we do it the right way because these are enforceable and they are on file at the Houston County Courthouse in Perry. I'm gonna read something back on that just a minute. Yes, ma'am.
So if you were to do what you were saying, go out to the house, is that going to be able to be said about the legalities of it with Perry ordinance and what have you? Because is that going to say, okay, now we accept what Perry says and we will not listen?
Nope.
Then why was it discussing that part of it? Because you just established the fact that legal. Because I remember, going back and forth with me, and I love whoever it was that responded to the HOA, with very detailed explanation of how things work or whatever in the letter that I wrote. But if it's legal and illegal to park on the street, then it's nothing we can do even if we did.
Right.
You can't eradicate the ordinance because legally the cops can still come out there and move your car. So I don't see a reason for trying to go to the road and just get it off the road. Because legally, somebody can call the cops and say, this car is in there. I'm in an area of parking on the road.
Let me just tell you, we had a vehicle that was parked in the green space not too far from my house. It sat there for a couple of months. And finally I just called him and said, hey, what am I supposed to do? Obviously back then, this board was governed by the previous by the developer, right? Did nothing. So I did what I had to do, and I was like, hey, Mary, what do I have to do about this? That car's been over there in the green space, weeds are growing around it. It's being used by children for other activities. Within a day, they were out there to pull it out of the road. So, but I completely, yeah. We can't change any of this at all. Okay. Let me kind of go back to what we were saying. We did get an email from. We did get an email from the homeowner, and as we talked to the police department, we quickly found out that yes, while there are these legal laws that are out there, there's also kind of personal things that can happen as a result. And let me just read this to you and kind of get your feedback on it. This is real, so we're keeping names, streets, house numbers, and so on out of it. This individual has thought that they might receive backlash from their neighbors or other community members by reading. So let me just read it to you verbatim as we receive it. Dear Lake Forest Hoa, I have a personal story I would like to share with the community. I know the parking issue has been really pushed a lot of buttons with people who tend to be loud on social media or not, but I'd like to share my own experience of why I consider it a safety issue. We are a family with a member who has special needs and requires medical interventions at times. One day, I ran to the grocery store after work, as many of us do, and when I came back home, a family member was found unresponsive. I immediately dialed 911, and unfortunately, when EMS services arrived, I was told by the 911 operator that the ambulance could not get to my house due to the numerous vehicles parked in the road and blocking their passage. One of the paramedics actually ran on foot to my house and together we managed to get my unconscious, unresponsive family member into the ambulance. Thank goodness my family member did survive, but I have not been able to stop thinking about it since this incident occurred. This is something I still have to worry about because of their condition. Will the same scenario happen yet again to me or somebody else? I shouldn't have to worry about emergency medical services not being able to get to my house and this entire situation is beyond frustrating for me. What I want to say to the community is this: how would you feel if this were your family member? How would you feel if you or your family member needed emergency services and the necessary emergency vehicles could not physically get to your house? I feel it's very selfish for individuals to refuse to park in their driveways. Every single one of those vehicles in the road that day had room in their driveways. Why couldn't they park there? You know, what if the outcome had been different? Please consider removing your vehicles from the streets. School has started, and every day I see children waiting at bus stops in the morning during dark hours and cars parked everywhere, including on and over the sidewalk. Please think of your neighbors and potential situations and outcomes. I would hate for somebody else to go through the fear and panic that I personally went through that day. I also don't ever want to go through that again myself, considering my family member continues to have the same medical issue and would continue to have the same issue throughout the rest of their lifetime. All we ask is that people look from somebody else's eyes or somebody else's perspective. If your house were burning down or a family member needed medical services and there were vehicles parked across the street blocking traffic to get to your house, I think most of us would be pretty pissed off about it. I'm just going to say, I know I would. I would be upset if they could not get to my house to put the fire out of my house or to respond to save somebody's life. And then you also have to think about what happens if there is a negative result to that situation. According to Perry PD, that homeowner can now come after those individuals whose cars are parked in the street for a civil lawsuit. I don't think anybody in this room or in our community actually wants that. Are there any questions or comments on this? I can put this on the page as well, in addition to all the laws, the parking, and as we get more information from the city attorney and the chief of police, we'll let you know what the status is of putting those signs and stuff. All right, and then the last thing I have is the soliciting going on in the community. So we did used to have no solicitation signs in the front. We're not really sure what happened to those. We are in the process of getting some new ones actually put up at both entrances and actually on the speed limit or under the speed limit signs as you enter the community. Hopefully that will alleviate people knocking at your doors and make it for a very uncomfortable situation. That's all I have. It's currently 6:35, so we're pretty close. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the treasurer's address. Aaron?
You're going to have to speak up. I can barely hear you sitting right here.
I'm sorry. Okay, so you said 2 sheets of paper. The one that's landscape, that's last year's expenses that we were able to put together by looking at some of the documents like the prior CPA. And it's what we use to base our 2022 budget on this document here. We've
So really what we're trying to look at, we're trying to get more on track for 2022, which is why we did put a timeline as to pay by a certain date for it to be billed. And that's the minimum late fee that we're going to put towards the law. 2021, there was a lot of changeover, a lot of questions and things. And while we like to just write them off, in theory, according to the covenants as well, we can't write those off. Those are still items that need to be paid, and our legal representation is always that as well. So kind of what we're playing with right now is that we would like to afford everybody the opportunity, roughly until the end of this year, to try and get caught up, at least with the 2021 dues, right? But try to pay your 2022 dues first. And then what we're going to do for going into next year is we'll go ahead and do the online invoices like we did this year, but we'll trigger them where they'll send out on January 1st, and we'll probably get 3-4 months, something like that, before the fee is incurred for being late. We're trying to spread them out as much as we can because we're trying to recover so much and trying to lessen the burden of those people like that. There have been situations where people come and say, hey, I got a medical situation, I don't have that load of money to throw out at once. Can I work a pay? Absolutely. We have no issue doing that. We've worked that with a few people already. As long as we know and our CPA knows, we don't have an issue with that. As long as you stay on that timeline, okay. Does that answer the question?
That longer length of that.
Absolutely. And we found that the majority of the people so far this year, as we got the website, a lot of people are actually using it versus doing checks. And that was one big reason too, is because, and I'll just speak from personal, what happened is when we went to go get the checks and all this documentation of our previous situation, there were a lot of checks that were never cashed. They were never deposited. So we're trying to basically get rid of that type of situation that happened. So we're not giving you an option to pay online. And when you do that, you get a receipt of it, and our CPA gets a receipt. It takes care of so much when you do it that way.
Also, just so you know, they process any checks you do send weekly. So on Fridays, when you pay for your check last week, that's the mail, they come in, Friday. They will pick up the mail on Friday and process those checks on Friday. So it may take a week to 2 weeks before it actually clears your account if you get that check. Just so that they're not going back and forth with each checks that we may get over time. The other thing that brought to our attention, a lot of discussion in the beginning, how much is in our account, what do we have in there? So just to lay that out for you guys, when we took over the account that was originally at Wells Fargo, there was just under $64,000 in the account. As of today, there is just under $91,000 in the account. There is also potential that we still owe Clay, the prior developer of our neighborhood, about $16,000, almost $17,000 for his initial deposit to the account. We're just waiting on him to provide documentation. So we do still have to account for that in our budget.
We'll ensure you, unless he provides some kind of substantial proof that that's not going to be paid out. We need to have actual evidence showing that there is a balance owed in some form.
I never saw that documentation. I just have the bank statement.
Yeah, we have some banks, and that was another issue, is as soon as we were able to acquire control of it, we couldn't tell who was on the account, who was not. We wanted a complete changeover, so we took it all, moved it over, and now only these board members and our CPA have access to it. So,
There was no bank statements after July last year. Like there's nothing.
we
Like
have,
she stopped doing her in July last year.
oh yeah,
That's probably good stuff.
right.
Like she disappeared off the face of the earth. Like stopped doing work for everybody. She's
stopped in October. She still billed us for November and December, but then she refunded us, or her husband refunded us the money, and we, two of us had to drive out and meet her husband and get one box stuff we have for our driving. There's not much in there. That helps.
Yeah.
So 230 homes, only about 100 of those even have holders with payment information in it.
And that was her manually doing it a little bit, and then partially I think through QuickBooks, right? So our CPA is kind of familiar with our previous CPA, so hopefully she's been able to kind of account for some of it because she's already seen this before, which is another reason why I kind of validated for us to go with her to kind of help us validate some of this stuff. And I will say, some of these estimates, as far as estimates on here, may be high, but it's only because of what we were able to find from the previous year or 2 years. So we fully intend as we go through the year to validate these and update these, and by the time we come, next year when we show you the 2023 budget, this will be probably 95-ish% accurate, give or take, if we have any expenses.
Anybody else have any questions about the financial?
So I got a question. So the landscaping, we've got if I understand this correctly, an $8,500 bill for landscaping. What do they actually take care of? Just the front entrances?
Yeah.
Okay, so can we pinpoint what green spaces they're supposed to be taking care of?
So that was something we were just talking about last night. We actually do want to put that in the community documents so you guys can see what is actually being taken care of, right? And they do it line by line. When we actually looked at 3 vendors, three companies to provide new services based on the old one that we have. Sorry, old military, we always look for 3 quotes, right? So we asked for 3 quotes, we got them back, and it was like comparing apples to oranges to grapes, right? Some of them they're all fruit, and they're all different flavors and all kinds of other stuff. What we were looking for was, I need something that takes care of both entrances. They trim, they blow, they put the pine straw down, they do flowering, and all that other stuff. In addition, we do have some HOA green space comment areas that also need to be maintained. The previous company that we had was only doing the front and was not doing the other green space areas, which we were paying them to do it. But that was also the other issue. Nobody was following through to make sure that it was being done the way they were built.
And what green space areas that have been identified?
Yeah. So right now, the land that has been turned over to us right now, I'm not talking any of the new development side that has not been turned over to us by the developer yet. So both entrances up until basically the property lines of both sides. Okay, we'll do all of that stuff. In addition, there's a kind of a city space, green space area, right, buffer zone that's on the Rigby goldenrod. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So. Okay. So it's the cul-de-sac that's closest to Dog Turtle, down by Goldenrod. Okay. There's a spot back there. There's a spot back there that needs to be maintained. There's also a fence line in between 2 property lines that's off of East River Cave and Goldenrod, where it's probably 3 to 4 feet wide that they also maintain. They're actually not part of either property line. And then the area over by the newer mailboxes, there's an area there as well. Oh yeah, sorry, and by the original. Yes, thank you. What those there's a big square area. I think the last time we had the food truck there, so that's supposed to be maintained too. And right across the street, there's an electrical box or something that they're supposed to be cutting there as well.
So they're not responsible for maintaining any of like the sewage right of ways or anything like that?
No, not the sewage right. Do you have a sewage issue?
No, I'm asking because it was labeled out to the homeowners that this is green space, and so it's a big wedge, and it's grown up. Right. Over there.
Oh, that's our best girl. Okay, so. Are there any other areas that have not been identified?
So what
Because
about,
these are the only ones that we've been able to identify so far.
so what about the area right there, all down to the road? Behind the houses? We're responsible for that. Right now it's all down.
Up, you mean up until Langston Road?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not ours. Our area stops at the backs of the property lines on the backside of the property lines.
So you mean that trees that are on, you'll be responsible for,
So, and those, the city should be those. Yes.
okay, so we need to contact the city.
Yes. Let us know so we can help coordinate because we have a good working relationship with the city engineers and those types of maintenance people. Let us know we can help with that.
Okay.
Send an email. Somebody else have a
Yeah,
question?
there's two areas at the end of East River. Run.
Okay.
My question is, are those areas supposed to be developed by developers initially, or is that something of the public? Because those two areas are growing like crazy. It's not looking like
Okay, let me, what's your name? I'm sorry.
one.
Huh?
One.
Okay. Are you talking at the end of the road where it stops and then the developers?
Yeah, they already put up
Yeah.
plastic fence. So they're not going to build over it because there's a main sewage line going under it. And according to the city and county, you cannot build a structure over it.
Right.
So
They don't have any control of that yet.
all right, so my question to you is,
And actually,
if the developer is supposed to develop that before it's turned over to us,
correct. They're supposed
are
to,
they supposed to?
yes, they're supposed to maintain any of that.
Okay.
You
That
can't
doesn't be touched if I move there to it.
And that's part of that feeds into the other drop down and then both sides.
Okay.
So I'm glad you all bringing this up. So we have found that some of the builders have left construction debris behind,
Yeah.
buried in yards and on the backsides near green space and stuff. If you find that, please take a picture of it and send it to us. If you need us to come over and take a look at it, we will. But we found at least 5 different homeowners that have already called since they moved in the newly developed area, where they found like full on like sheets of nails that were supposed to go to nail guns and stuff. They found burn debris. They found like chicken wire type stuff. They found rebar. So all of those things, if you find those, let us know. And we will get a hold of the Houston County Environmental Office or whoever it is that's responsible for that. We will make sure that those are cleaned up. We're not going to go out and clean it up. That's their responsibility. And we have had that happen a few times already in the last 6 months. Yes, sir.
Dr. Hammonds, I'm over on Black Farm, and the back end of my property, and they kind of been there to my neighbors a little bit, but they went ahead and built fences that were on the stretch and whatnot, but, where they have a blue tarp, and I think it's a drainage of some sort that's behind the back of my property. There's also a 30-degree angle hill, like a bump at the back of my property. And it cuts into my property, but also it's I understand it's a trench to stop any flooding. I mean, I appreciate that. But when my office completed last year, I was told the city or someone will finish whatever's going on back there. And I'm hesitant to put up any kind of fence, especially I'm not going to have to go up on that pump. I don't want to have one shaped like this, but I'm hesitant because I did have a home, not in this community by the stretch, but I had a home in the past where I built a fence and then the city didn't decide to come do something and they was like, you need to tear that down so we can work. I'm not interested in doing that kind of fence and then have to rebuild it. So I'm curious if or when something like that would be resolved. Because I'm under the impression, I bet y'all don't even know, because
You mind if we come out and look at it?
Oh, yeah, that's great. They, also, one of my neighbors is not here on that cul-de-sac, at the very end of my
Yeah, we came to his house.
Okay, so
Yep.
you know about that.
Yeah. Well, honestly, we're slowly compiling a list of stuff, right? I know the words, but stuff that they've left behind that at some point we're going to have to go to the county for and be like, these people are not cleaning up the way they're supposed to. We're not supposed to leave any debris or anything like that behind, as far as our understanding. Not only that, it's a safety issue. You know, I'm like, if I were the developer, I'd be like, hey, whoever's doing my building and cleaning up after, they wouldn't be doing my building and cleaning up after. I'd go to somebody else. But let us know. Send us an email. Okay, just so we have to. Okay, all right. Just send us an email, just anyways, okay, and then a screenshot of that with your address, and we'll add that to the list.
But I assume y'all probably had no idea.
There are a lot of things that we have no idea. But yeah, and that's all we ask. If you tell us, we've actually gotten to the point where we work with the county on so many different things where we can pretty much call them anytime we want now. Same thing with the Perry Police Department. We call them and they help us. And thank you for us. Does anybody else have anything similar? Construction debris? Yeah.
So
You're
you
talking.
have behind where West River came?
Yeah.
Okay. The developers who own all that, right? We've not been turned over to us yet, so we can't touch it.
So once we get that paperwork saying it's being turned over to us, I don't know, and honestly don't know if there's actually any action for us to sign saying we accept it. But before we do, we'll make sure we get with the approval law firm and just be like, hey, we want to make sure we're not running into these issues again because this has been a recurring thing.
So like that corner house with the white fence, like my shed.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're talking,
I'm just trying to make sure we have like an address to go off of.
you're talking the $1 million line that runs in the, yeah,
On the
okay.
other side.
Yeah, yeah.
How many homes total are supposed to be in the community? Have they come up with a final number?
Hold on.
So dog kennel, they start closing on dog kennel homes in October. And then they're adding another cul-de-sac into that section of dog kennel, the new part, which will have about 5 homes. And then I'm not sure about what East River, but what I did today, it's 260 without counting East River, the extension of East River. And that's supposed to be about 200 to 300 homes.
And it sounds like most of the development buildings are supposed to be done by the end of 2023. They should be fully done building anything by 2023, the end of 2023. Anything else? Okay. Okay, all right. No more questions on finances, right? Okay. All right, we're going to try to wrap this up real quick here. All right, so we did put this down. It was kind of questionable before as to how long terms and stuff are, but I don't need to go over. You can see them there. Most of us are 2 years. Will is the only temporary appointment. He was temporarily appointed because the previous sergeant arms had moved out of the community, so we had to appoint somebody. What we are going to do now is we are going to put out a ballot, hopefully within the next couple of weeks or so, and it will be online. All right. Right now, we are looking for nominations for sergeant at arms. Okay. Will is currently the incumbent, so he will obviously be on the ballot, but anybody else, you don't have to nominate here. But if you'd like to nominate, self-nominate, something like that, I'll give you the requirements for that here in a minute. But then he will actually be up for a real election. And then the other one, due to personal reasons, Devin, our vice president, will be stepping down, so we'll be looking to fill that slot as well. We do need nominations in by a week from today, and what we need are how do you think you qualify for the position? It's no different than Cooper Walker was asked board members before. Kind of give us your qualifications, why you feel be a good fit for that, and then we will formulate those and put them on the ballot. So that will be both for Vice President and Sergeant Arms. Please email the whole email account with your nominations. Okay. The requirements to be a board member, you must be fully paid on all of your dues. These are in the covenant. Fully paid on all of your dues, and you cannot have any recent violations. Yeah. Or outstanding violations. Yes,
When
ma'am.
you say recent violation, and we want it,
Yeah, any one of the three. Now, if we're talking it was 2 years ago, and it's not an issue, okay. But let's just say within the last 6 months, because there's nothing specific. Okay. If you have an outstanding violation, it will automatically remove you from it. Or if you're not current on things. The biggest thing we can ask, and we keep asking people, is we're volunteers. We can't force anybody to be volunteers. So it is a very time-consuming job. As much as we put in, or as little as we put in, it is a very time-consuming job, and it's stressful. So please email us your nominations. Questions on any of that?
We do try to keep hours so that we're not constantly working, but I know there's times I'm answering emails at midnight, sorry if I woke anybody up. It's just when I have a chance to get to it, my name's doing that. I didn't know if it was someone named.
I'm glad you said that. So ACRs, questions sent to us, either email or through the website. Those are just the big ones, or we're trying to register for the page. We try to give us 2 business days between, I think we've got 8 to 5 established. That's on our website. In addition, our mailing address is on the website, and the email address is on the website. So we're trying to put all the information we can out there too. Question on any of that? Yes. The open forum, I'm going to kind of leave that open, but there is one committee that we would at least like to start, and that's kind of like a community outreach. And what we mean by that is trying to find better ways to get new homeowners, buyers, new people in the community to know how to reach us, how to find the website, how to pay the dues and things like that. I know another homeowner said, hey, I'm really good with building websites and trifolds and things like that. That's a great idea. If we want somebody to lead something like that has the time to do it, let us know. But yeah, it's absolutely something that we need to get more information about our association out to the people.
Another thing we talked about, this was done before under yeah, so John and you guys, under them, they did like a cleanup of our road. So we were talking about doing that again. So we'll, put out an email or whatever, put on the website, all that stuff, put on Facebook. Not under official capacity, but it's just going to be a community get together and clean up the road.
Okay. Open forum for any questions? Yes, sir.
When we had the Zoom call, y'all were talking about going through and doing a rewrite on covenants to be more conducive to our community. How is that going?
All right, I'm great. Right now we're about 90% of just transcribing. The issue we had originally was most of us only had a scanned copy, so it took some finagling of PDFs and stuff to try to get that to work basically we can copy and paste it, right? The first thing we're trying to do is to get to it where, one, it's transcribed the way it's currently written, so that you as homeowners can go there and type in, I want to search for something, right? Right now, the one that's scanned on there is not very searchable. You can't type street parking, right? And it'll take you to all the parking stuff. You kind of have to go through it on your own. So we're trying to do that first. But But as we look to refine or modify some of these things, and they still fall under that 2/3 requirement. And I will say, there are a lot of people who fully understand the way that they are written now, so they may not necessarily want to sign because they know without that 2/3 signatures that we would have to take to the county courthouse to get them to amend them, that it's not going to change anything. So we are looking to do that. Like I said, one of the biggest ones was guest parking in front of your house. Do any of us honestly expect you to send us a list with driver's license numbers, with names, with dates, and all that? Absolutely unreasonable, right? It's also unreasonable for you to expect to have your guests jam their car into your driveway for 3 hours while you visit you. Does that answer that question? We are getting there, but it's 90 pages deep.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. What's your name?
Mary,
Okay.
2/3 of the neighborhood, 2/3 of that big.
Two-thirds of the neighborhood. Right.
So the 300 houses, 200 people on site.
Correct. And they have to be signatures. They won't take a ballot. They have to be a written signature with your address, and it cannot be more than one name per household. And it cannot be tenants either. If you're a renter, it has to be a homeowner. Yes, sir.
I just say something. I'm going to stand up because I don't want to have my back to y'all. But,
Can you tell us your name, sir?
so I'm Al. I just didn't want to have my back to y'all. I'm Alan Griffin. I would probably bet that I've been in the neighborhood longer than anybody in this room because we're the first houses in the second part, or the first part of the development. So I'm the first house when you pull in on the right. It's got huge barricades. This summer I did have some cars on the street. My daughter was home for summer and all the free throws. So I apologize for that. But I just wanted to just take a moment, and I know we're running behind time, just to personally thank these guys for taking on this responsibility. And I'm glad Jeremy said it. They're volunteers. Okay, they're not getting paid. I think we all know how much we were getting robbed blind, basically, by the developer and all that. And I'm on Facebook a lot, and I don't post a lot on our neighborhood page because I probably have a lot of enemies real quick to say what I think. Okay, but I just would encourage all of us to stand behind them, to support them. I think you can tell that they've got some good ideas, and the fact that we have 230 households and there's roughly 10% of the people here, personally, I think that speaks volumes. If I had to guess, I would say probably the majority of the ones that do all the name calling and complaining and all that are probably not here tonight. Okay, so just like I said, just encourage your neighbors to come to the next HOA meeting. Encourage your neighbors to support these guys, and if they have ideas, get the ideas to them and act like adults. Okay. Personally, the black, white, Mexican thing. I mean, when I see those comments, man, it just makes me fume because personally, I don't see skin color myself. I mean, I raise my kids to judge someone by their character and how they treat other people, not the color of their skin. But I bring that up because there were actual comments, if you go back and look, about the people that were elected. But they're volunteers, so the next time, if you feel like we could do a better job, anybody, and I'm talking myself included, volunteer and try to do better, but give them a chance to make a difference. I mean, at least we kind of know now where our money's going. We had no clue before. The first 3 years, I've been here 5.5 years, and the first 3 years, I mean, like I said, they were basically just stealing our money and not doing anything. So, I just, again, encourage your neighbors to come to the meetings, encourage your neighbors to, if they have a problem, to handle it like adults. Because personally, I think the name calling is really childish. I mean, it's just some of the crap I've seen on Facebook. I just wonder how you raise your kids, to be honest with you, if that's how you talk to adults. So, I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to personally say thank you. I think we're on the right track. It's going to take some time, but again, that's all I got to say.
Thank you. So, Jeremy briefly touched on it, but we do want to have some sort of committees for our area. A welcoming committee or First, I'm going to touch base something that no one really touched on. All parents who have kids out there, and we have kids that go all over. We're at Langston, Perry, Mossy, Rigby. We have a few kids that are even at Veterans, Bonaire Middle School, and Perry High School. Put your information out there for all the parents to see. Last year, I was big on bidding about the seniors. I kept all my senior parents up to date on what was going on. There was a lot of events. Just post your information. I know I saw you post stuff about baseball, selling tickets. Just post it. We all need to see it. And about the events, someone step up, just like posting the food trucks. I did it last time. Honestly, I did reach out to the food vendors. We didn't get a big response of neighbors. It was not big in the past. I believe too, like what 3 or 4 months, we held it in my cul-de-sac. We had great response, but I also think it's because of the neighbors that were in my neighborhood. But of course, I reached out. I wanted feedback from the food truck. It was Cuban restaurant and not the restaurant. Cone Ice. I just wanted to get feedback, and they kind of both said it was nice, but they've been out previously and they've had a bigger, better response than this last time. So I put it out there. I know y'all put it out there. A lot of people were like, yeah, and then we went and it was like, there is a list of food truck vendors that I have. I have over 20. I've reached out several times to the donut people, but they're just so behind. Everybody wants to go down. And they've been out twice a time. They've been out once. So, if anyone wants to step up and do that, I have a list. Someone else. October 1st, we're having a, I don't think this is right, this is a, so October the 8th, the neighborhood across the street from us, Greenstone, wants to do a community yard sale. They want to sign up on their side of Langston, kind of involve both of our communities. They are in the process of developing a committee for that, for their neighborhood. Out asking to create a committee for our neighborhood so that we can make sure that we have, signage that often or rare paint or wherever the houses might be so that we can bring more attractive to help everybody sell their stuff. So far we've not gotten, I don't think any responses for anyone. Being on a committee, and I saw one response about somebody wanting to participate. But again, it's the same up to everyone to volunteer. That's kind of how it works.
Right. So let me touch on the website real quick. So the website is not our website, it's the community website. So there, if you got an event, you want to share it, you want a yard sale or something, there's a board. All you got to do is send us email us the information, we'll post it there with whatever information you can provide. Okay. Dates, times, if there's a name, POC, whatever. Okay. We will absolutely put that on our community board. In addition, we have a lot of homeowners in the community that have personal businesses. We are allowing you to utilize the website to post your personal business. There is a place in there for it. So if you want to, hey, I make t-shirts or something, sweet, send us the information, we can put your information in there. There's a section completely for business opportunities. So it's kind of you pay for it a little bit, but it's kind of a free way to do that your business opportunity. All right. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you. Yes, sir.
I just want to do a quick shout out. James, I just want to do a shout out to Eric, Martha, Sheriff. We had 4 personnel just for black kids came to our neighborhood and worked in the housing response time was outstanding.
they're getting much better. Unfortunately, they're getting a bit more community. So, anything else? I would like to thank our deputy over here for coming and hanging out with us tonight, taking his evening away. But without further ado, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting tonight? Second? All right, thank you. Have a good night. Appreciate it.